Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. We just recently did a review on the 2019 150 Prado, so you know what I thought I'd do? A bit of a review on the 2008 120 Prado. You know, I mean, it's a bit of a long review, isn't it? So we've only had it since 2014, so 6 years. The first 2 years it was used as a tug towing a caravan around Australia with pretty standard service, and we acquired the vehicle. It had 196,000 Ks on it. Now it's somewhere just under 400,000. So a bit of a review, I suppose, comparing. You know, you can't cover all aspects in a video, and I'm probably not going to tell you or answer your question exactly what you are after, but look, we'll do what we can, and basically, you know, kind of compare the 150 and the 120, I suppose. Not to say one's better than the other or not, but personally I do like the 120 in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things I like about the 120. Of course, you know, you get set in your ways, and there's things they change on the 150 that, that doesn't do that and whatever. But of course there's improvements as well, and overall it's a 150 when it's new, I suppose. It's a newer, tighter vehicle, so it's going to be an upgrade to you. But once it gets old, I'm not sure if it's going to drive too much different, really. But I believe the 150s drive better than the 120s, just a nicer drive on it. You feel like you're sitting a bit higher, a bit firmer, a bit tighter, you know, a bit of a different feel. Now, got a bit of drizzly rain this morning, pretty awesome, isn't it? So what you've got is focus on the rain. Oh yeah, it changes, that's pretty cool. Okay, see how that goes. But look, I'll leave the windscreen wipers on so that you can, hopefully it focuses on, so at least you've got a view. You can try and work out where I am. Anyway, that's all right, it doesn't matter. So what do we like about the 120? Well, it's a smaller, lighter vehicle, so if you put them side by side, you'll notice it's a bit narrower, maybe it's a bit lower, so slightly better aerodynamics because it's smaller, lighter. It's naturally going to get better fuel economy if you compare same with the same engine. Now, I just want to quickly say, comparing the 150, it gets some really good economy, but that's because it's virtually stock standard and brand new. A 120 or a 150 when it was new, I can tell you it gets the same. We've driven and used plenty of those sorts of vehicles when they were new, and we're not just looking at our economy, we compare to the fuel economy of many other vehicles who travel with us on trips and provide their feedback as well. So 120, you know, one of the big things that always comes to mind is the flares, the plastic flares on the side. We like those. I don't know, they just look a bit like the old 80 series, you know, it just kind of looks good, and it does offer a bit of protection because I've got this GPS talking to me. I wish it would stop, but if I turn it off I might not know where I'm going. So you enjoy that rain there. I can see it's not working out too well. Here, I'll put the windscreen wipers on next speed and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's not about the picture, it's about the podcast, they say, you know, just sit back and listen. You can even listen to it while you're in your car. You don't have to look at pictures. Choose which video, play the video, start it before you leave, and just listen instead of listening to the rubbish on the radio. You know, listen to what you want to learn about. So the flares, the plastic along the sides, right, so I like it. It offers a bit of protection, okay, particularly on the sides of the doors where it comes up halfway up the door and sort of protects you a bit. Now this is what I've had, you know, if you open your door on a track or somewhere, you know, you may open it, there may be a stick or a branch or a tree or a bit of dirt or a rock. You know, when the plastic hits, it's not as bad as paintwork and scratches and permanent dents where the plastic can touch it. It might put a bit of a scuff there, something that you're not worried about, or something that'll polish out, where with the metalwork it's going to dent. Okay, now same thing quite often driving on the tracks, and we've been driving on the tracks in Prados for almost about 10 years in Prados. Before that, you know, Hilux and whatever. So, but what we've found is when you sometimes run over, there'll be a stick line on the ground. There'll be a bunch of sticks on the ground for that matter, and it's unavoidable to go over them sometimes. But sometimes there'll be a longer one, and what will happen? You'll run over one end of it, and it'll sort of cantilever and fling up and whack the side of the vehicle. We have had that a number of times, and usually it's hit the plastic, which is really, because it sounds really bad. You get this big bang, you know. I'd hate to see this Ranger here on the left, see? Same as a Prado, no protection, just steel, you know what I mean? And I suppose this 4Runner is a bit similar as well. You can see he's got plenty of panel damage anyway. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is we like the plastic protection on the side is a positive. Let's make a negative out of it, okay? Maybe after a lot of time it rattles loose and causes problems as in falling off and whatever. So, look, that's not a big problem, but I have seen some bit like that, and I tend to think it's when they've been removed for other repairs, panel repairs, that's where it all starts to go wrong. When people have pulled flares off to fit snorkels or stuff like that, and they damage or break the clips getting them off and don't replace them, so they're not secured properly as per Toyota engineering and manufacturer's specification, okay? So that's the real problem. So it's not really a problem, is it? What else do we like? A lot of people, look, the rear windows on the 120 open, okay? That's really good. You can, that's personally, I pass my power outlet plug through there, which keeps the fridge running on 240 volts and keeps the batteries charged to look after the batteries. You can't do that in the 150. The back door, the 150, I suppose it's an improvement with that strut that you can more easily lock open and control the slamming open and shut of the door on the 120. You had to be careful, the door's quite heavy, and if you were parked on a side angle and let the door go, and you did that a lot, you know, if you go shopping, you know, you got to be careful, don't let the doors go bang open. You're going to damage that, you know. It's a big heavy door. It's not a design problem with the door or anything like that. No, it's not. It's a problem with, you've just got to be a bit more careful. But I suppose they've superseded you needing to be careful and change that design. So they've improved the design so you don't have to worry about it. So that's a positive. On the 150, there's a few little changes in the suspension components. It's basically the same design, but there's a little bit of strengthening on the rear diff housing. I don't know of any problems with the 120 rear diff housing, if you know what I mean, but they've improved it. So, you know, if it's not a problem and you've improved it, is that a positive? Anyway, I don't know. I don't like that, personally, I didn't like the dash, that hump in the middle there on the 150. The later ones they've improved with, you know, the bigger screens and the colour screens and all that. You know, the old ones with the little clock and the little rate, you know what I mean, you know, it was pretty pathetic really. You know, the 120 had that double DIN unit that, well, it's not, whatever it is, it's that Toyota size unit that you can easily replace and buy units, plug and play, whatever, whether you get it cheap or expensive, that's another story, okay? We think the 120 is good. 180 litre fuel tank, that extra 30 litres comes in handy, if depending what you're using the vehicle for. Again, if you're not leaving your state, you know, it doesn't matter. You don't need, you know, when I say not leaving your state, depends if you're in WA, it might matter. If you live in Esperance and you're doing a trip up to Kimberley, then you might appreciate that extra 30 litres as well. But it depends if you go on the outback way or up the coast. There's lots of different ways to go, isn't there? So the extra fuel in the 120 is good. It starts off lighter. The protection on the sides, the windows opening, the simplicity of a lot of things, you know. You've got a basic braking system that's reliable, where with the 150 it's got the traction control, which is a positive, that's good, but that master cylinder, when it fails, is worth about $3,000 or so, I think, plus fitting and whatever. So, but it's a rare thing, so let's stop talking about that. It was popping up, I think, more in the 120s and that, so I suppose if you've got a Grande or something like that in a 120, like the airbags, all these luxury things, they're not so good for off-road, so keep that in mind as a comparison as well. So I know I'm not doing a very good job of the comparison. We like the 1KD, the timing belt's simple, it's reliable, they never deteriorate, they never break. I shouldn't say never, but to my knowledge, that's what it is, never. Compared to timing chain problems that you may have and the works that would be involved in replacing that. So I don't know what else to tell you guys. The 150, both vehicles are good. Particularly I like the 5-speed auto in the 1KD and behind the V6 as well. Apparently it's a bit hostile behind the V6, if you know what I mean, but the control, the auto with the 1KD works really well with the 1KD, the 5-speed auto and the 1KD. So I'm getting distracted because which is fine, right? Because I'm driving here and we're going to listen to that GPS is telling me where I'm going. But look, that's enough, mate. That's 10 minutes. We'll keep this one short. We'll do another, I suppose, comparison or review, the 120, the 150. A bit of information, something for you to think about. I suppose that may help you a little bit if you're looking to, you've got a 120 and you're looking to go towards a 150, whether it's worth it or not. What's the best 120? Well, the last of the 120s. So, you know, anything from 08 onwards is really good, I suppose, but 09 is the last of the best, right? An 09, certainly don't buy a black one. Black one's the worst colour to look after. I would not touch a black 120. I don't know, you'd have to have rocks in your head. I don't know what people are thinking when they buy a black 120. Sorry guys, those that brought the black 120s. But anyway, white, silver, whatever, you know what I mean. Silver's if you want a nice colour and easy to look after. White's if you want the ultimate in easier to look after, keep cool, keep clean, easy maintenance on the paintwork, right? So white or silver are your colours. That charcoal colour's really nice, but it is okay. It's better than black, definitely a lot better than black. Nice colour, but a bit crazy if you're going to do off-road, overgrown tracks, so beware of that. What else was I going to say? Yeah. Best of the 150s is probably still with a 1KD in my opinion, you know, 2014-15. You've got, not saying that they're any better than the others, but there is technical notes there telling us, you know. Anyway, I got to go guys, so thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, give us a thumbs up and comments on your questions on this one. We'll keep it in mind for the next video. Thanks for watching. See ya. Sorry about that guys, I was nearing my destination and I do respect your privacy, whether it's names, addresses and registration numbers. I know you're probably not too fussed about it, as I'm not too fussed, but you know, always better to err on the side of caution, because some people you know, like to keep a bit of privacy, like me. So this is, we're not really going to compare the engines, like, you know, 1KD versus 1GD. It's not about that. It's more about the car as a whole. So 120, 150, all the 150s are about the same. Obviously they changed over the years. They improved. 09 to say 2020, you know, small things change mechanically, you know, other than, you know, the engine change and the transmission change, more or less the same. Running gear under the vehicles, around and inside and all that sort of thing. Always small change. You got to understand, there's always small changes behind the scenes to make improvements. Okay, so whether that's from longer testing on those older vehicles that are still in testing, and you know, they want to get them out there. They might not be able to do a million kilometers on them or something before they get them out there, but you know, they might have done a couple 100,000 Ks worth of testing, if you know what I mean. I'm just giving some bad examples, you know, and then they keep continuing the testing once the vehicles are out, possibly also some vehicles that are out that have had problems, so a combination or either of those, and they make more changes, and they don't necessarily tell you what they are. Some you can see, some you'll see the update, you know, update, facelift, whatever the case may be, whatever you want to call it, but they don't always necessarily tell you exactly what's going on with what changes. So, but just rest assured, as the vehicle gets newer, it gets better. So a newer vehicle is always better as far as those changes go. Where you have, and it's not really in Toyotas, talking other brands, when something new comes out, it can happen with Toyotas, but not so much. When other brands have something new, that's where you normally avoid it for a year or two or three. But look, Toyotas are pretty good. I always think let someone else be the guinea pig, whatever. There's plenty of people that are going to buy them and need to be the first as they come out. So 120, it's got a key instead of a fob, so you're not going to have your, you know, generally have your battery going flat. There's been a few people with the 150s with their fobs and that system doing some weird things, you know, cars locking and whatever. So I can't remember the exact details, but people sort of locked out of their cars and cars sort of won't start. But there's ways to, you know, a bit of patience and whatever, usually something will happen. Just saw the police sitting on the side there on their dirt bikes, probably waiting to chase some punks somewhere that have been, you know, oh, it's a wet day, yeah, they get out in the dirt bikes down the creek maybe, yeah, so there you go. So easily distracted. 120. So yeah, kind of like the key, the simplicity, as I was saying about that brake master cylinder, the tracker control is good, definitely. It's a better safety thing, works better off-road, but you know, so I suppose it is better. Look, the brakes feel better on the 150, of course, because of that system. You just put your foot on the brake, and you know, it's a better system. You get a better pedal feel. You get back into a 120, and you just feel you got that little bit more movement before the brakes start to actually work. You know, what do you call it? Like pedal slack free play. What do you call it? So, but it's not bad if you're used to it. It's fine. I'm driving I think the 120 is great, and every time I get back into it after a 150, or you know, whichever car it may be, getting into any 120, I don't have a problem with it. I don't go, oh, this is an old, you know. No, they drive quite well. I'm really happy with it. This 120 isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I'm going to go, actually I haven't been down here before, so I know some of you know where I am. Got nobody around me so I can change lanes. I'll go there. I've been over here. This is some new bridge or something. Cool. I've never been here, so I'm going to get myself lost. Interesting. Okay, probably a good idea. Hopefully it might even be a new way onto the freeway, the way I was meant to go. Awesome. Because I would have gone the old traditional way. Sorry guys, you know, I've got to work out where I'm going as well, while trying to think about maybe this wasn't the best way to go. We'll see if there's any green signs. We'll keep driving, see what pops up, eh? Well, we're going to end up in the back streets now. Anyway, so 120, smaller, lighter, a little bit more forgiving in the off-road environment, without trying to compare to, like I said, the Grundes, the airbags and the KDSS. Well, the KDSS you don't have on the 120, so the problems you have when upgrading suspension, sometimes you're going to be able to avoid those. Okay, so I think I better work out where I'm going, eh? Turn around. Yeah, I don't think this is going anywhere. No green sign, so no access to freeway on that sign there. So that was a nice drive over the railway line. But we'll go back and go the way we know, or another way we don't know. So I don't know what else I can tell you guys. Should you get a 120 or a 150? Depends on your budget, I suppose. I mean, 020 is a lot older. If you're going to get something around 09, 10, 11, 12, I'd be thinking to get a 120 if you're happy with the 120s, right? 2009 120, awesome vehicle. I said that before. If you're going to get a 150, you want to push it right up and get a 2014, 15 in my opinion. So they're the best of the best, last of the best things to stick with at the moment. You know, we're not a fan of the setup of the transmission. You know, the 5-speed auto works really well in behind the 1KD. I'm very happy with it in both the 120 and the 150. In my opinion, that's the way to be. The reason we go for the autos are they're very reliable. There's pros and cons of auto and manual, we're not doing that, but the auto is a lot more reliable. The 5-speed auto is more reliable than the 6-speed manual, right? It hasn't got a clutch that's going to wear out, surprise, surprise, you know. You're on a trip and you need a clutch, or you do it as prevention, so it's going to cost you a couple of grand to get a clutch supplied and fitted, or a bit less than that maybe, whatever, who knows exactly, something like that. Depends where you go, what clutch, a lot of variables. Expensive clutches compared to the old small cars where you could, you know, couple $100 or stuff for a clutch plus a bit of labour, you know. It's not a $600 job anymore, really. So, auto, it's very reliable. The A750F, the 5-speed, seems to be basically bulletproof, right? I'm not going to say there's never ever going to be, there's always going to be a problem. It's probably going to be caused by someone anyway, right? Most problems. But I'll say it's virtually bulletproof. Probably one of the best transmissions out there. I'm not saying there's not one that's smoother, and the 6-speed's just as smooth or smoother. I'm sure the design has improved and stuff like that. But the software, I'm not here to complain about the software in this one. 120, 150. So the 120, in my opinion, is a lot smaller. The 150 is a lot bigger. It's heavier, but it does drive nicer. But it does have a bit of an ugly dashboard there. But then to some people, the 120 is going to seem old. But then the 120's got the protection of the plastic on the sides. But then the 150 hasn't. It's going to cop the dents and stuff like that. Some people, look, they're both kind of not the best looking vehicle, stock standard, you know, till you put the gear on them, in general opinion of most people. Personally, I think the later 150s, like if we're talking, you know, 2018-19, the front actually looks good. So you can have one of those without having to put a bull bar on it, and it looks decent. Where the older ones, yeah, well, I actually prefer before the teardrop headlight, right? 2004 to 13, 14 facelift, whatever you call it. Yeah, that was, I don't know why they did that. That was just a bit painful. But anyway, that was the facelift. Anyway, guys, I don't know. That's all I've got for you comparing a 120 and a 150. I love the 120. If you had to compare an 09 120 and a 15 150, it all depends, I suppose. It's a fine line, right? If you've got less money, obviously you're going to get the 120. There's basically no disadvantage. If you want a newer car, you're going to get the 150. It's 6 years newer. It's only 5 years old now, right? Old enough that you can take it out on the tracks. A few trees overgrown and a few light pinstripes. It's not going to bother you too much. Where a new car, it might just do your head in. So if you're going to buy a new one, stick with white. Okay, so that's what I mean. I'm going a bit slow on this, but little bits of information are coming out. I'm thinking, what else have I got for you? I like the, I'll tell you what else, I've got another really important one. So for those that stuck around, you have to hit me up with a comment, because a lot of people are long gone by now, and I get it. But I want to hear a comment about the space in the back. Now the 120 has got a heap more space in the back, really. You can easily take the seats out. I should have said this earlier. This is what I mean. It's easy to forget stuff, and that's why you hang around till the end, because if you want a proper comparison or review on the 120, the rear's got heaps more room in GXL compared to GXL, 120, 150. The 150 Prado is so compromised on space. It's got these big bulky drink holders that poke out. Though it's not just the seats, the trims take up so much space. And then you've got the seats that fold into the floor. They're not so easy to take out. And then you've got all that weight constantly that you can't take out. And it's taking up space from the floor upwards. And a lot of that weight is on the rear side of the axle, which affects your handling a little bit, right? It's like having a rear bar. You want to keep all your weight as low as possible and central to the vehicle, in between your wheels. So on the front, you don't want weight in front of the front axle, like a bull bar. And you don't want weight on the rear side of the rear axle, like a rear bar or anything big and heavy hanging off the back, right? It does affect the handling. It's one of the major things that does affect the handling, okay? And you might not notice it or know that, so be aware of that. But what I was trying to say about is the space, okay? The space in the rear of the 120, there's so much more than the GXL 150. That's why, if you're going to buy a 150, one of the biggest smart decisions you can make is to get a GX. The trims, the seats aren't there, the floor's lower, it's just like a 120. You've basically got the same space in the back of a 150 GX as you do in the back of a 120 GXL. Well, I don't even know that the 120 GX might even be the same in the back. I'd have to look at one. I've taken no notice, really. Right, so I'm not working in the back of some old 120 GX Prado. I'm under the bonnet, under the car, whatever. I haven't owned a GX 120 Prado. I owned a few Prados, but they've all been GXLs. Okay, so other than our 150s. Okay, so always in the 150, a GX in my opinion. Now, if you've got a family that of more than 5 people, or but we need the rear seats, well then maybe you should buy a Toyota Tarago. You know, you get what I'm saying? You know, that's your people mover. Why are you buying a 4-wheel drive? Tell me. Because is it the right vehicle? That's something else to think about. Tarago and all these other vehicles, Kluger, stick with petrols. This isn't about petrol or diesel. Stick with petrol engines where you can. Diesel is for touring the outback or doing long extensive towing, lots of kilometres where you're going to save a lot of money and you need to do that, if that's what you need to do. Okay? But I'm saying stick with petrols where possible. All your small cars, All your vehicles that aren't touring, travelling long distances and doing lots of towing, petrol's your engine, okay? And I'm not trying to tell you that 20-year-old 1GR is the best engine out there, but it was a great engine in its day. It's getting very old now. If you drive it nicely and have it in top tune, you may get reasonable fuel economy out of it, but this isn't about that. The space in the back of the vehicles, the 120, the 150, chalk and cheese. It's quite disgusting the amount of space that isn't in the back of a 150. Okay, so the GX, the seats aren't there. You immediately save that weight, both for your suspension lift and your handling. You've got a lot more room in there because the trims are different. You don't have those drink holders. Check it out. Go down to a Toyota dealer. They won't even have a GX because they're just like robots as well. They just want to sell you a GXL. You have to order a GX probably. You might find a dealer somewhere that's got a GX. Find one that has. Go down, take a look in the back of it. You know, they've got those big screens up on the wall. They want to show you that, right? You might see it in that. Not a lot of difference in the whole vehicle. You're going to save yourself a lot of money. Well, a little bit really, but buying a GX, and you're not going to carry the weight around. You're not going to rip off those perfectly good side steps to put on your heavy duty side steps. You're not going to rip off that bumper bar with the fog lights in it, you know, to put your bull bar on. It's just, you know, you paid for less that you're going to destroy and take off the vehicle, if you know what I mean, to build the vehicle that you want. And that's up to you what you put on it. This video is not about that. So the 120's got a heap more room in the back, so be advised if you're thinking about upgrading from a GXL 120 to a GXL 150, it could be regretful in that space you're going to lose in the back. Also, the seats fold differently. Personally, I prefer the way the seats fold in the 120. Okay, a couple of bolts, you can take them out. The whole lot is out. Okay, giving you a lot more room and saving a lot more weight. I'm not saying whether it's legal or not. I'm not worried about that one. I'm just telling you what you can do. Obviously, it is quite safe to do so, right? But it'd be ideal to also bring your cargo barrier forward to the two passengers in the front. But it may not be legal for safety reasons, and you know what? You need to check out those reasons in case any are valid. It may be legal. There may be a misconception there that it's not legal. Okay, so basically, that's what you've got to think of, right? The 150, the seats fold differently, okay? So you can check it out, how they fold. Not as easy to take them out as the 120, in my opinion. So the 120, it's kind of got a lot of, what do we like about the 150? Like that double console storage thing, you know, you got your shallow console and your deep console as well, where the 120, it's just got the one center console we're talking about, you know what I mean? Love the drink holders in the 150, you know, you've got two in each door at the front, you got them in the back doors, you've got some decent usable drink holders in the 150, where in the 120, it's a bit of a mix-up. You've got your drink holders in front of the console. That you'll find if you've got a 120, it's something that's annoying. A lot of things don't fit in there. They've got those little adjustable clip things that don't really adjust too well to allow much to fit in there anyway. And you know, then they pop out when you jam it in there, and then you got to actually look at it and put it the right way to get it to slot in. So the drink holder in the 120 is a pain. You've only got two. That is a pain. It's a lot of money to pay to upgrade to 150 for some drink holders though, right? But it is awesome. Two in the front doors in each side. You got them in the back doors, and you got two, and it's forward in the console, so when you hit the brakes, the drink doesn't go flying out and land on the T-bar like it does in the 120. And I'm not saying that happens, but I'm exaggerating, you know what I mean? So the drink holder, the console setup in the 150, much better. Personally, in the older 150 GXs where you had the twist knobs and that for your temperature and fan speed and all that, I like that. It's quick and easy, simple. It's easy to see, easy to adjust. Because personally, same in the 120 for that matter, the older ones, they changed in, I think, around sometime in 06? 06 had manual. Sometime in 07, I think they changed, some 07 update where they went to climate control. Climate control doesn't work, you know, you've got it set on 21 and you're too hot, you've got to turn it down, and then when it's cold, you've got to set on 21 or 22 and 23. It's too cold, you've got to turn up to 25. Then it's on 23 on a hot day and you're too hot, you've got to turn it down to 21. So it's not true climate control. It doesn't actually work properly. So you've still got to make adjustments. So you may as well make adjustments with a quick knob, hot, cold, you know, twisty, just twist it a little bit. It's so quick and easy to see and adjust what you want instead of press, click, or hold it. And if you're holding it, then of course after a second it goes fast, but you've got to be looking at it to see when to release it. You wouldn't want to be driving because then you're looking away from where you're looking out the front window too much, right? So you don't want to be doing that. Anyway, so I prefer manual. Climate control would be good if it worked, as in set it on 22 and you were happy in all conditions. And I'm sure some people are. You just understand everybody's different. I'm not happy, it doesn't work for me. People I speak to, they agree. They go, that's right, I'm always going a bit below or a bit above to get what I want. So you're making these adjustments. Right now it's a cold day, I'm on 24. Mate, I'm not hot. If I leave it on 24 on the next hot day, I'm going to be going, that's a bit warm for me, I'm going to click it down to 21. Get what I mean? So it's not really climate control. You're manually manipulating anyway. And with all those buttons, it's electronics. They can get more dirt and grit. If people got dirty hands spilling food and drinks, don't eat in the car. Can't stand it, right? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe, thumbs up, comments. I'll try and do a better video next time, but hopefully that was helpful for you. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. See ya.